Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, marriage can be, well, complicated. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals. We pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, and I'm going to assume that you do because you can hear me talking, you're listening right now. And if you are, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Give us the old like, the 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we'd absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, we're on the Twitter, we're on the Instagram, we're on the Letterboxd, we're on the TikTok, and, well, we're probably a few other places too. We're at In the Seats. Where else would we be? For all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it even more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So do us that kindness and pay us a visit. On this episode, we got a fun one. It is it's having a decent run in the States right now, theatrically, and I'm sure it's going to be coming to video on demand platforms at some point in the fall. But it's from the creator of Final Destination, and it's called Til Death Do Us Part, and it's the story of a bride who, after bailing on her wedding, must fight off her ex-groom and 7 angry groomsmen in order to find the night. Of course, there's a little bit more going on. There's a bit of subterfuge. There's their story. It's a fun ride. It stars Kim Giggany, Jason Patrick, Natalie Byrne, and it is an over-the-top action ride that borders on being a horror movie, but not quite. Even though it has some elements, it's gonna be a lot of fun for action fans, for horror fans, for anyone who just wants to go to the theater and just enjoy some spectacle, because that's what Til Death Do Us Part is. And we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with the director of the film, the one and only Timothy Woodward Jr., to talk about the origins of the project, working on such a unique and fun movie, and also talking a little bit about his stars, one of whom is a co-producer on the film, and really definitely a star in the making. I won't spoil it for you. You'll have to listen to the conversation. But if you are to the south of us, I'm in Toronto, so if you are in the States, please go check out Til Death Do Us Part where you can. But also, but first, and most importantly, listen to our talk with Timothy Woodward Jr., because between you and me, it's a darn good one. All right. Well, Timothy, obviously, man, first off, just thank you so much for the time today. I appreciate this.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
No, I mean, congrats on the movie, man. It is a hell of a ride. I absolutely loved it. I mean, I guess my first question is, like, walk me through sort of the story of this script hitting your desk.
Oh, okay. So yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for saying that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'd gotten sent the script by Chad Law a while back. I want to say probably 2 years ago. And I didn't really, sadly pay attention to it at first. I looked at it, glanced at it, was like, oh. And then I was looking for something actively to collaborate with Natalie Byrne on, and she sent it to me again and said, you have to read this. Read the first, 5 pages. I opened up the script and it has Def Leppard inside of it from Love Bites. And I'm like, oh, I didn't see that before. Let me get into this, right? And I, started reading the script, and it was written originally a little more straightforward, as far as like it was more of like an action piece imagined.
Right.
And I started saying, really great stuff here, but I think this could be fun. It's like Snow White and the 7 dwarfs. It's 7 dwarfs who are trying to kill Snow White. And, if we could make this into, a rom-com gone bad movie, where it's really just if Julia Roberts, all her groomsmen were trying to kill her in the 90s, and she had a martial arts background, let's rock and roll. So these ideas started going through my head of how I could really just twist and bend and have a good time with it. And there was some stuff that was already on the page that like was very leaning towards it, but they just didn't lean in. So I just leaned in further and just tried to really twist this thing around as much as I could.
Well, I love it, man, because I mean, the end result is just fantastic. I mean, honestly, it's really one of those fun rides. I mean, Natalie is so fantastic in this. I mean, she really manages to sort of stride that line between sort of, being the blushing bride, but also being this sort of powerhouse badass all at the same time. Like, how important was it for you to sort of work with Natalie on this? Because I mean, again, in watching this, I've seen her in a few things before, but this definitely feels like sort of that next jump, sort of that next level thing to see what the kind of stuff that she can do.
Yeah, I think that was, like I said, when she came to me with the script and we were looking for it, I immediately saw, and it's funny, there was a graphic novel element that they sent me to it, and the bride looked just like Natalie. So it was automatically that was there. And then it was one of these things where when I was first explaining to her, it's going to be like a rom-com, and this, she's kind of looking at me like, oh, well, it's supposed to be a little more, action. But she's actually very funny too. So she's got some comedic chops to her. And there was some other things, but she's able to do the martial arts because she's a former ballerina, which was really good and very useful to me because I could change shit up on the fly. And then there was a trust element there from previously working with her where she would just kind of let me just throw anything at her, changing the fights, saying, hey, do this, do that. And, so because 1 minute she literally has to be cutting somebody in a certain way.
Yeah.
And the next minute she's got to be straight up back to, I'm in love and I'm dancing with my bride, like as if we had the wedding, or my groom, like as if we had the wedding. So this was I was riding the line in a lot of places on this, and she was really, a trooper for going along with it. And I think she did an amazing job. I mean, it was literally like the script was tailored for her.
Can you specify a little bit more on sort of the graphic novel element? Because I mean, just in watching it, I was so struck by sort of your use of colors and light and just sort of the mood that were set for the bulk of the film. Like, how important was it for this to really have a immersive visual style?
Very important. A lot of the things that I've been trying to do lately, I collaborate with my DP, Pablo Diaz, all the time. And, one of the first things when we sent it over and we looked at it, the graphic novel was like a woods in the woods and just this cabin. And it had, a blue color intense, but I said, we need to add reds. We need to add tungsten yellows. We need to make each room kind of do stuff. And Pablo and I just really worked through a lot of it. And Marcos Quito, my production designer, had to find a way to hide these lights to make them feel like they were part of the house. So one of the challenges were, how do you get these cool neons and these cool lights without, having a neon sign, for example? How do you make it come about? So we literally went through, we put the red lights in the yard and, had the ice sculpture there. So it could be giving off a blue light, these cubes, and just put it in the liquor cabinet where the liquor cabinet could be doing it. So we had to also challenge of hiding those, but the color palette was extremely important. It was extremely important for it to look and feel like a horror John Wick movie in the house, and then have the bright popping colors in the church in Puerto Rico, and then have this kind of, I don't want to say Batman-esque silhouettes in the warehouse, but that's kind of what we went for, this cool feel for The Last Dance. And, that was what it was titled on the call sheet, One Last Dance. And, I created a playlist too, so that feel was there. So the feel of the movie was there from the beginning. I mean, if I sent you shots that were out of camera, they were 95% of what you see now. We did not go in afterwards and start adding this color. This was there from the beginning.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I love that. Now, I mean, I got to ask, just because every time Cam opened his mouth on screen, man, I was dying laughing. Like, was that all on the page? Did he lean into it? And I mean, how did you even sort of keep the set from not losing their shit laughing?
Well, a lot of people were laughing. We were having a good time. I was looking behind the monitor a lot and seeing Jeffrey Reddick, and he was just dying laughing. But there was a lot of the dialogue itself was on the page, but it was just a little different. Like, for example, there was like heavy metal music playing, and he was like supposed to be cursing. And so Cam and I, when we talked in the beginning, I said, look, this guy is, and I played Mr. Sandman because I created a playlist for everybody. And, I said, this guy is, if he was in the 1950s, he's mowing his grass, he's walking by, hey, John, hey, Bob, perfect, well-mannered guy. And then he's, walks inside and he's got somebody tied into his closet. You know what I mean? He's just off. And I said, his job is to be the best man that he can be. Like right now, that's his whole thing. And so Cam really leaned into it and he brought this like swagger with it. And he just had a blast. We put a jar down, he's putting his finger in, he's going over, looking at pictures. So I made sure to give him plenty of stuff to do and freedom to roam around. And he just chewed up the scenery and had a good time.
Now, I mean, something else that I loved about this is just, I think to me, it really helped sort of embrace the ride of it all, just not play it, because it didn't play sort of in a straight sort of linear fashion. There was a little bit of jumping back and forth. How important was it for you, especially in this, to sort of create a bit of a build, create a bit of a mystery, and not just have it be sort of an action set piece? Because, I mean, again, as much as we were enjoying the spectacle, we're invested in the story at the same time.
Exactly. And you know what? That was such a hard thing to write in the edit, because number one, I'm already going against, I'm not doing a straightforward movie. I mean, I'm playing 1950s music while somebody's getting slaughtered already. And I'm already doing something that I start off like a rom-com, that's straight out of the 90s and then go very dark. So how do you jump from someone getting stabbed in the where, or sliced in half, to then people are on a boat drinking margaritas, right?
Yeah.
That was a challenge to ride that along the way and to find these cuts and these places in the story. So we kind of placed them out in the act breaks of, okay, the act break would come here, we would pop out. And then one thing that I was trying is, I hope during, like, especially when Cam is going on and Orlando's happening and the chainsaw's happening and things, you forget about that story, and then we pop you back into it and it ties back around to, oh, this is why she did it, this is what's happening. But that was kind of the anchor of the movie, right? That was our moments to breathe and to pull away from this stuff where it was this kind of just over the top, fun, craziness is happening in Home Invasion. And then we get to pop out to the grounded part of the story where you get to see the characters a little more. You get to see the bride and groom and their point of view and their differences, and they're living through the ghost of Christmas future, which is the ghost of Christmas past, which is the Jason Patrick character and his wife, who have done that and been there, but you don't know who they are at first. And so it was important to leave little hints that if you watch the movie back again and you listen to what Jason's talking about, and even his whole, how he got shot in the shoulder and it was the night of his wedding. They had been through the same thing. He's saying it's bullshit. I even have him saying dates wrong completely. Like he's like 20 years ago today and he says 1984 or something.
I just thought, yeah.
That's on purpose. That's not a mistake. That was literally because he's bullshitting. And, his whole thing. And, we even had Jason drop his Southern accent when he says, so are we the dolphin? Or are we the shark? His accent's completely gone.
Yeah.
These guys have been incognito and hiding and doing their thing for a while. So the whole thing is bullshit. All of it's bullshit. And, and hopefully the audience catches on to that too.
No, I mean, just to start putting a bow on this, I got to ask, man, because there's so many different styles and influences at play. Like, what were the movies that sort of had the light bulb go off for you that made you get into this business?
A lot. I wish I would have prepared for that answer. I love film, to be honest with you. I love movies in general. I would go to the theater when I was young. Like my mom would take me to this 99-cent theater where she'd have to sneak in Skittles and stuff because we couldn't really get the popcorn. But I remember being there, and back then the curtain would get pulled, and it was such an anticipation for me where I was like panicking, like I'm like, pull it. And when the movie was on, I was like completely in another place. And as I was growing older, from 11 years old to 18, it didn't change. I still felt that, and I loved every aspect of this business, and I was so happy on set. So I think that did it. And I've tried. I mean, I've made Western movies. I've made a 1920s gangster film. I've done action. I've done horror. I've done TV. So I've tried all of it, you know what I mean? And like a lot of it, not all of it. But so I think it's really hard to say what is one thing. I just feel like the love of like cinema and entertaining is like, that was the reason. With this movie though, I really kind of threw everything out of the window of what I was supposed to do. And I kind of just went with like what I thought was fun and funny and, what was interesting. And I'm glad I did, but it was very hard. People, the distributor was like, how do I market this at first? I've done a lot of movies with them and they were like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, is it a comedy? Is it a horror? Is it action? And I'm like, it's kind of all of those things. So I had fun.
Well, that, at the end of the day, man, that's the important thing, and it comes through in the work, man. I love that you brought up the curtain, because that anticipation, that sort of excitement to jump into this world is just there, man. And I mean, it's a hell of a piece of work, but I mean, keep it up. And I mean, honestly, congrats again, and just thank you so much for the time, man. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'm really glad you enjoyed the movie. I appreciate it. We put a lot of work into it. So we're trying to spread the word and, get it out. We are not going on VOD for a while. It's going to be like 45 days or so at least. So we're hoping people will come out to the theaters and check it out.
Fantastic, man. Keep up the good work. All right. Talk to you soon.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.